Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Real Reviews by Loukprop, and today we are talking about the Botany, which is at Dairy Farm area. And if you remember, we have done a very similar Real Reviews video last time on Dairy Farm residences. And I think you'll want to watch on to the end of the video because the score might surprise you. Let's go. Now before we begin, as usual, we'll be reviewing based on these 5 factors: location and accessibility, development quality and facilities, competitive pricing, rental yield, and stack selection. Now let's get to it. So first up, location and connectivity. Now the Botany is actually located here. It is bounded by Dairy Farm Walk, Dairy Farm Lane and Dairy Farm Heights. It's in District 23. Now if you're talking about connectivity via public transport, the nearest MRT is actually Hillview MRT, which is along the downtown line. Now downtown line gives you direct access to places like Newton area, gives you direct access to CBD area. So although it's not the shortest distance, it's not impossibly far as well because it's one direct line down to the CBD area. As for food choices and shopping, the nearest malls would be Rail Mall here and also Hillview 2, which is at the Hillier. But as you can see, the walk to Hillier or Hillview 2 and also Rail Mall is actually a further walk than the MRT is, right? Already MRT is 13 to 15 minutes walk. This will take probably about 17 minutes to walk to the malls. So most of you who are staying there might actually even prefer to take an MRT from Hillview area up 2 stops to Bukit Panjang area, where you have several malls in the area, including Bukit Panjang Plaza, including Hillian Mall here, including Junction 10. But it is good to note that by around 2024, we will have a new mixed development being built next to the Botany, which will have its own retail stores. It will have a food court, it will have a supermarket, so on and so forth. So anything that you need to buy immediately is right at your doorstep. Of course, this is another development that you have to cross the road to get to. Now, if you're talking about schools that are within 1 kilometer away from the Botany, we have CHIJ, Our Lady Queen of Peace, and also Bukit Panjang Primary School. These are the 2 nearest ones to the project. So let's talk about what people will like about this area. They will like that it is very near to all these nature reserves and recreational areas. For example, we have Chestnut Nature Park here, you can see at the side. Bukit Panjang Park at the side as well. And if you go down, you'll get to Bukit Timah Nature Reserve within this area. So people who are into jogging, into nature, you will love this area because it's a more peaceful and serene environment. Additionally, the rail corridor will also be a 24-kilometer kind of recreational destination for people, right? It extends all the way from Woodlands area down all the way to the Tanjong Pagar railway station. So this is a 24-kilometer long railway corridor that will feature like jogging routes, cycling routes, various F&B and cafes along the entire corridor. So if you are really into nature and that kind of stuff, this location is actually pretty sweet for you. One of the selling points that are being shouted out in the Botany is that they have this unblocked greenery and landed view to it. But having said that, it is worth noting that this may not be a permanent unblocked view in the future. What do I mean? If you were to take a look at this space, right, currently why it is unblocked, especially towards the northern side, is because there's this open space that hasn't been, nothing has been done there yet. But if we take a look at the URA master plan here, you can see that this is actually slated to be residential land here as well, and an educational piece of land. So in the future, not only will people who are facing the north side contend with potential construction noises in the future, anyone that buys below, say, below 8th floor will actually be blocked by the condo that is opposite them, right? So this is something that you may need to think about when purchasing the Botany. Also, if you're looking at the URA master plan, you can see that surrounding the Botany will have several new pieces of land, which we will talk about later in terms of how it will affect pricing in the future. But just in terms of how it will be blocked in the future, your view may not be the most unblocked and perfect view that you can get right now, right? And on the right side of the Botany, you have Dairy Farm Residences, which also is a 15-story high condo, same as the Botany. So you'll most likely be blocked on the right side if you were facing the right side of the project. So in terms of potential growth and transformation in the area, most materials will mention either the Tengah transformation or the gardens and park connectors that will be coming up soon, as well as the Beauty World integrated transport hub coming up very soon. Although these are good transformations, however, I think that these transformations are a little bit too far from dairy farm to be worth mentioning as a boost in value to the Botany. So in summary, although this place is really quite a serene and quiet environment to stay in, quite good for own stay, but because there is a lack of transformation going on in the area, and also it's not the most accessible of areas to the town area or to other parts of Singapore, I cannot give it a very high score. So the score for location and connectivity will be 2.5/5. So next is development quality and facilities. Now, this condo is being built by Sim Lian Group. Sim Lian Group has over 40 years of experience in Singapore, so they are very, very experienced. However, if we were to look at their track record, you can see here that for Sim Lian Group, right, this is the score for their Conquer score. Most of their projects that they have built is maybe an average to an above average kind of score. The only one that really outperformed is really Treasure Quest. It got a Conquest star, right? And also maybe Wonderville, it got quite a good score, 94.5. Other than that, all the other condos that they have built so far is pretty average in terms of their Conquest score. So the Botany has 386 units. It is made up of 5 blocks of 9, 13, 14 and 15 story high blocks. It has 1-to-1 car park lots, 386 basement car park lots. It also has EV lots, so that's provided as well. If you're taking a look at the site plan, right, you can see that it is a pretty standard layout of blocks. This is block 5 is 9 stories and it goes in this way. 13, 14 story, and block 3 is 15 stories high. Now, everything that you need in a condo, you definitely have it here in the Botany. There's a 50-meter lap pool, there's a tennis court here, there's a clubhouse with gym, you have a function room as well. You even have various other recreational pools surrounding the entire facilities deck as well. And the clubhouse even has a co-working space with Wi-Fi function for you to do your work also. So what I like about the facilities is that you have a separated pool for different purposes. So a 50-meter lap pool will be for people who are really serious swimmers, want to do their laps. For those who want to just flop around in the water, you can go to all these other recreational pools at the site and you won't distract all the serious swimmers, right? So in terms of that, I think it's good design. However, like I said earlier on, basically you just get what you need in a condo. There's nothing really much to shout about the facilities that give it like a unique selling point for the whole project. And also just a side point which may be important for some people, there are 4 different side gates for this condo. 1, 2, 3 and 4 at the side, at the top here. So it is accessible, right? Some condos only have 1 side gate for the entire, like maybe 600, 700 unit condo, but this already has 4, so that's pretty good for this condo. But if you're talking about provisions, their white goods are all from Electrolux, which is a pretty standard brand, and their sanitary fittings are from Hans Grohe, which is also a pretty standard kind of provision for any condo out there. So again, nothing to rave about in terms of their provision. So in summary, because the developer hasn't really outperformed themselves consistently throughout the 4 decades of experience, maybe only 1 condo has a Conquest star, and because the facilities provided are pretty normal, pretty standard, I would give them a score of 3/5. So next we were talking about competitive pricing. Now, because we are comparing Botany as a new launch, we have to make apple-to-apple comparisons. So instead of getting all the older resale in the area, which I will also talk about later on, let's first compare with new launches, right, that have been launching around the area. Obviously, the first one that we are going to be talking about is Dairy Farm Residences. We can also talk about the Midwood around here, and also a little bit further down, which is arguably a better area in Beauty World, we have Verdale as well. So let's take a look at these 3 condos. Dairy Farm Residences, you can see currently commanding about 1,000 1,005 to 1,007 plus per square foot. In terms of Midwood, we are also commanding about 1,006 to 1,007 plus per square foot. And in terms of Verdale, it's already commanding about 1,008, 1,009 per square foot already. So how much will the Botany be launching at? Now we don't have the official price list yet, but if we look at the land sales that they have done, for the Botany, the estimated break-even price is 1,646 per square foot. So if we were to assume that developers want a 20 to 30% profit margin from its break-even price, we are expecting about 1,009 to 2,001 plus per square foot in terms of its launch price, depending on the size of the unit, of course, and of course the facing. Now, at this launch price of 1,009 plus to 2,100 plus per square foot, we are looking at at least 200 to 400 per square feet price difference with its next highest competitor, which is Verdale and also Dairy Farm Residences. Now, Dairy Farm Residences, especially because it is right next to the Botany. At the top here, you can see that the Botany is here. Right, let's zoom in. Botany is here, Dairy Farm Residences is here. So of course, Dairy Farm Residences will be the closest competitors that we can compare to. And as mentioned earlier on, Dairy Farm Residences is actually at 1,005 plus to 1,007 plus per square feet. So it would be accurate to say that we are buying at a premium of 300 to 400 per square feet above Dairy Farm Residences. Is that a fair price? If we were to take recent new launches as a reference, a 300 to 400 per square feet difference from its next newest competitor isn't too ridiculous, but do take note that Dairy Farm Residences is only 2 years old, 2 to 3 years older than the Botany. So although it is a fair premium on the slightly higher side, alright, but we need to take note that the Botany will be setting the record pricing in the Dairy Farm area the moment it is launched. So if we were to compare the resale condos that were launched within the last 10 years, it is interesting to note that all these resale condos didn't do exceptionally well in terms of their capital appreciation. What are we talking about? We are talking about mainly Skywoods and Eco Sanctuary. Of course, Treehouse and Forest are also resale condos, but they are slightly older, right? So if we were to look at the price movements in the last 10 years since launch for these two projects, Skywoods has actually not made a lot more. You can see that since launch until all the way in 2021, the prices didn't really move at all, okay? It only really started to rise within the last 1.5 years, mainly because of the general market moving upwards. But other than that, you can see from 2013 until 2021, those 8 years were very stagnant. Similarly, for Eco Sanctuary, you can see that from launch, it has been stagnant all the way to 2021, and it only inched upwards within the last 1.5 years. And the price increase was only about 100 odd per square foot in the last 1.5 years. So if we were to compare the resale prices of the newer resale condos in the area, they didn't perform exceptionally well as well. What about the condos that haven't been built yet? Did they see any price increment? Well, if we were to compare Midwood, like I said earlier on, we can see that currently it's commanding at 1,006 to 1,007 per square foot. When they were first launched, it was roughly the same price at 1,005 to 1,006, so that's like 100 per square foot increment. Same thing for Dairy Farm Residences. While it is now commanding 1,005 to 1,007, initial launch was also at about 1,005 to 1,006, so maybe some of the units have made about 100 per square foot in appreciation. The only one that really did make steady increments over the last few years is maybe Verdale. Verdale, since launch in 2020, was actually launched at 1,006 to 1,007. Right now, it's already at 1,008 to 1,009. But I would argue that Verdale right, is actually at a better location than Dairy Farm because they are nearer to the Upper Bukit Timah Beauty World kind of area here. So location-wise, it's definitely more desirable. But what I think works really well in Botany's favor is the fact that there are still about 7 plots of land that hasn't been sold yet. Now, which are the plots of land? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these 7 plots of land are all zoned as residential land. It's likely going to be private residential as well. So as long as these plots of land will be selling at or higher in terms of their land prices as compared to Botany, we would be looking at higher launch prices in the future as well. And that would be a very good base of support for the Botany. It may not cause a great shift in terms of capital appreciation, but it is always good to have a very strong foundation and baseline for prices. So if you are really buying for own stay and Botany satisfies all the things you need in that area in terms of serene and quiet environment, you like the facilities and all that, it will be a good buy. But if you're buying for investment, I'm more worried about the fact that historically hasn't shown much price increment for the other projects, and as the highest priced right now, the Botany will be setting the record in the area. Capital appreciation might not come very easily also. So for score for pricing, I'm scoring it 2.5/5. Next, we're talking about rental yield. So we'll take the surrounding resale condos as a basis of comparison, which means that we'll be taking the Skywoods, Eco Sanctuary and Forest Residences as examples. Now looking at the Skywoods, for their 2-bedders, they are commanding about, if you're talking about recent 2022 one, commanding about 2,003 to 3,004 in terms of its rental price. For Eco Sanctuary, we are looking at averagely about 2,005 to even up to 4,005, 4,006 in terms of its rent, 2-bedder rental. And for Forest Residences, we are looking at also again 2,005 to about 3,009 in terms of its rental for 2-bedders. So if we are going to be taking an average for all these 3 condos, we are looking at maybe 2,005 to about $4,000 per month for a 2-bedder. Now, if we were to conservatively use what we said earlier on, 1,009 to 2,001 plus per square foot for the Botany's prices, we are looking at 2-bedders ranging around 1.3 to 1.5 million. And taking 2,005 to 4,000 per month as a rental, we are looking at a 2.3 to 3.2% rental yield on average, which isn't too bad. Not the best, but really not too bad. So the score for rental yield will be 3/5. Lastly, we're talking about stack selection, and as usual, we'll be basing it off of these factors. Okay, so these are your ideal stacks, your average stacks, and your not so ideal stacks. Now the main thing to note here is, if given a choice, I would prefer to go for units that are above 8 stories high, because if you choose any units below 8 stories high, you run the risk of actually facing another unit on the opposite condo in the future. And also you may run the risk of facing the German European School Singapore that's opposite the condo also, if you are to buy anything below 8 stories high. So for stack selection, we are giving a score of 4/5. So combining all the scores from the various segments, we have an overall score of 3/5. So if you think that this video has helped you, please go and like the video, share the video, and of course, go and subscribe to the channel. It will help the channel a lot. What other projects do you want us to review? Leave it down in the comment section below. And as always, we'll see you in the next video. Bye!